you writing your book can change everything. It can literally change the world. As I said last week with St. Therese and Anne Frank, it can literally change the world, but it will change you. The person that you become when you write your book, when you finish your book, when you have it in your hand, you just become a different version of yourself. And when I talk about magnifying your miracles, I bring in a lot of stuff about manifestation. But one of the core things is becoming that person. I like to call you the happiest, healthiest, wealthiest version of yourself, like that version of yourself that is already doing her purpose, that is already whatever might be important to you. Hello, my miraculous friend, and welcome to another episode of the Magnify Your Miracles podcast. This is Reverend Frances Faden, and I am so grateful that we get to spend this time together helping you magnify your miracles. And one of the most important things, or one of the most impactful things, I should say, that you can do to really magnify your miracles, your impact, your energy, is to take your story and write it down, to write your book. And that's what I'm going to be talking about today, how your book changes everything. And I'm going to be giving you some examples, and I'm going to be telling you some things from some clients that I've worked with. But before we do that, let's take a deep breath together. Just get ourselves grounded and centered. As we breathe in the energy of expansion and we breathe out anything we no longer need, we get ourselves ready to really hear whatever we need to hear today. And knowing that whatever you need to hear to move you powerfully forward is exactly what you're going to be hearing. Let's take one more deep breath together in gratitude. We can begin. All right, my friends. So today, welcome to part 2 of our 3-part series on writing your story and writing your books. If you weren't here for last week, I shared how you can write a book that transforms lives, just like St. Therese of Lisieux had done, just like the late Anne Frank has done. Books and stories that continue to impact us, that continue to bless us long after, people are in their body. And so if you missed it, check it out. You can see the link there below. But I want to share with you today your story and why your book changes everything. Now, you might say to me, God, it feels like a daunting task to write a book, right? Because we have all this stuff that we put in on what it means, but all it really means is sharing your story. Women especially have been doing this for millennia. We sit around a campfire, and what do? We talk about our day. We talk about what's going on. We might share our prayers. Women have been doing this forever, right? And also passing down stories. So there's stories that have been passed down that become myths. Sometimes that is the story within a family, and sometimes it is something that is within the culture. People create creation stories. One of the things I love is that if you go to different parts of the world, everybody's got a different version of how did we get here and why are we here, right? And I love that because it's specific to that culture. There is no one story, right? That is true for everybody. But there is your story. There is your story. And that's the story that's true for you. Now, you may have a story that is, a fiction story. It might be a story. You might have characters in your mind. You might have a theme. You might have all of that. Or your book might be your personal journey, a little bit more like a memoir. And maybe it's just a certain part of your life, right? Or maybe it's the whole thing. Or maybe all the wisdom that you've gathered, you're going to put it together in kind of a how-to book, a book of here's how I got from A to B to C, and here's what you can do too. Any of those stories are going to make a huge impact. When people, and especially women, when they honor their voices and they allow themselves to write it and put it down, it can make such a big difference. Now, one of the things I find that holds women up is we get all up in our heads, right? We get all up in our heads and we think about doing it perfectly And what about the publishing? And how do I know I picked the right story? And what if it's good enough? And blah, blah, blah. Because we have all this stuff about being an author and what does it mean? Well, Mother Mary is wanting me to invite you to let go of all of that. That's just coming from our ego. It's coming from that small part of us that can kind of feel scared, that maybe doesn't feel good enough. And the truth of the matter is, your story is already here. The only question is are you going to tell it? You already have the story inside of you. Are you going to tell the story? That's the only question. You can decide not to. You can leave this lifetime and that story dies with you. Or you can write your story down and you can get it published in any way that works. There's so many ways to do that. Even if it's just simply that you wrote it and it's like a document on your computer that your children or your grandchildren or other people can read at some point. If you don't write it down, it can't go anywhere, right? So, writing your story is the first step. This is why I'm teaching this course, and I'm going to share it with you right now. I'm going to be leading this course, is what I should say, because it's really about coaching you through the process of writing your book. So, if you go to francisfaden.com/, write your book, you'll see this program that I have put together for you that Mother Mary's asked me to put together to create a space and to coach you through whatever's holding you back from writing your book and telling your story, because you writing your book can change everything. It can literally change the world, as I said last week with St. Therese and Anne Frank. It can literally change the world, but it will change you. The person that you become when you write your book, when you finish your book, when you have it in your hand, you just become a different version of yourself. And when I talk about magnifying your miracles, I bring in a lot of stuff about manifestation. But one of the core things is becoming that person. I like to call you the happiest, healthiest, wealthiest version of yourself, like that version of yourself that is already doing her purpose, that is already whatever might be important to you. And one of the things that you can do is you can write your book. And in the process of writing your book, you become the author that you're meant to be. You become the influencer that you're meant to be. You become the writer that you're meant to be. You become the teacher that you're meant to be. You become the storyteller that you're meant to be. You become the leader in your field that you're meant to be, whatever it might be. The writing part is where it all starts. Now, right now, I have like 25 book ideas in my head, but they're not going to do anything until I sit down and I write them. And one of the things I'm going to say to you, my friends, is to be really careful about this whole AI thing. A lot of people are using AI to write their books. And I'm really hesitant about that. I mean, I think the editing process maybe, but just be careful because AI is pulling from everybody else and it's pulling from what's already out there. And your story is your story. And it needs to be your voice because your voice is what we need. It's not very long ago that women's voices were really silenced. And they're still trying to be silenced when women share their experience of how they've been treated or what they've gone through. Very often, they're discouraged from telling their story, especially if there's been any kind of abuse or any kind of trauma or anything like that. Very often, women are discouraged or they're told they're not going to be believed or whatever. But women sharing their stories, in my opinion, is what's going to change this world. And women owning their truth, not to get other people to believe them, but to say it and to own it and to be like, this is my experience and nobody can take this from me. I'm going to own this and I'm going to transform this and I'm going to do whatever I'm going to do with it. I was just before I hit record, I just did a little search on like women that used to use a male pseudonym, a male pen name so that they could get their stuff published. And would you know, there's so many of them, especially in the 19th century. Even the Bronte sisters, Charlotte Bronte, who wrote Jane Eyre. We have George Eliot, who wrote The Mill and the Floss. We have all these women who used a male pseudonym so that they could get their books published, because if they had their name on it at the time, they wouldn't have even been considered. That's the level of silencing that women have been dealing with all this time and to have the courage to actually sit and write and put your thoughts down and to have the courage to approach a publisher 200 years ago. It was amazing. But it's not that long ago because I remember reading something about J.K. Rowling, who wrote the Harry Potter series, right? Why did she use J.K.? Because she believed that if she put her name, Joanne, and she identified herself that the author was female, she wouldn't be taken as seriously in that particular genre of, well, not exactly science fiction, but a fantasy, I guess it would be. That was a very male dominated field. And so she even silenced herself on some level. And that's only like 20 years ago. So, this is why I'm saying to you, your voice matters. It's so important. Now, I'm going to share with you how your book changes everything. This book right here, Make It Punchy by Emma Stratton. For those of you who have been watching the podcast for a while, you'll know I've talked about Emma quite a bit. And she's been actually on the podcast a couple times. And I should actually have her back and talk about how she wrote her book. But she wrote this book called Make It Punchy: How to Write Simple Tech Messaging That Wins Hearts, Minds, and Markets. And when I first started working with Emma, I could feel, she was this creative person and it was her lifelong dream to write a book. And she wasn't sure if she was going to be able to do it. And then partly through our work together and then through some other things that she had done, she made the decision. She said, "What do I really want?" She's like, I really want to be a best-selling author. I really want to write a book. I really want to have my book touch a lot of people. I want my book to make a difference. That's what she decided. At least that's what she shared with me. And because this is how she's wired, she goes on vacation and she met somebody who hooked her up with a publishing company that was the perfect fit for her. And she approached them and they were like, "We would love to work with you." I mean, it was so miraculous when she told me. And was I surprised? I wasn't surprised. I was laughing because I'm like, of course, this is how it's going to work for you, right? And so her book is, her expertise is in tech messaging. That's her expertise. And she is so good at being able to take um, complicated information and make it punchy and make it really concise so that it doesn't alienate people. If you want to know anything about marketing, especially so a lot of us who are in the Magnify Your Miracles world, a lot of us are healers, we're light workers. And you know what? We can do this. We can get caught in the tech of things of like how we do what we do and people get lost. So I actually recommend this book. I read it. It's really good. It just really explains how to get it out of your head and put it in the most concise way possible that people can understand it. So not only did Emma write this book and not only did it become a bestseller, so my friend Emma, congratulations on becoming a best-selling author, which is one of the things she wanted to manifest. I just saw, because I follow her over on LinkedIn, as a keynote speaker now. She's at a conference somewhere, and she wrote this beautiful post saying how in 2018, if you had told her the version of her in 2018 that she would be at this conference and she'd be on the stage as one of the featured speakers, she wouldn't have believed it because that version of herself hadn't even written her book. She wasn't confident, like she didn't have any of that. But through the process of honoring who she was, some of the work that she did with me, some of the work that she's done with other people, but also saying yes to writing her book, saying yes to that longing that she had in her heart. Not only did she become that best-selling author, but she's now seen even more as a leader in her field. And so this is a nonfiction book. And to be honest, I don't even think this is the ultimate book that she's going to be writing. But it's positioned her as a leader in her field. And it all came from her deciding, I'm going to do this because this is what really matters to me. Now, in the Write Your Life Changing Book program, we are not going to be focusing on publishing because you're going to get all up in your head when you're thinking about publishing. I'm going to be telling you some things. I'm going to be sharing some things that I've learned, and I am going to be offering you resources and options, but that's not the point of it. The point is to step into the energy of being a writer. That's the point. The point is to actually write your story, write your book. It's to help you get clear about what it is that you're wanting to write. It's to help you establish a practice of writing, whether that's every day or once a week or whatever it is. You're going to come up with your version of what it is to be a writer. No, I always joke because my wife Deepa, she wrote this really great book, uh, Set Your Mind for Success and Attract What You Really Want. It's a really good book. And she wrote it a long time ago. And she laughs because she says, yeah, it took me a year to write that book because I wrote it 1 hour a week. 1 hour. She would spend 1 hour and she would write for an hour. And then she was off giving workshops and whatever else she was doing. But at the end of the year, she had her book, and her book has changed lives. If you've never read it, I highly recommend that you read it. It's a really, really good read. I'll put it in the show notes for you. But it's all about working with your energy and how you can really change your mindset to start really attracting and manifesting what you want. And Deepa, I remember the day she said, oh, I got this email from somebody saying, I read your book and it's changed my life. I decided to end my business and go for the business I really wanted to do. Sat down and had a talk with my husband about what was working, what wasn't working. And now my life is completely different. Thank you. That's an email that she got from one person who read her book and was like, oh my God, this changes everything for me. The thing is, you don't know how it's going to change the world. But what we do know is it'll change you and it will change the world. When our beautiful friend Anne Frank was writing in her attic and she was dreaming of being an author, she didn't know that she was already one. She didn't know that she was already changing the world. And all she was doing, not all she was doing, but the thing she was doing was the most important thing was the writing and writing her experience. So, my friends, I'm just going to say to you that your book has the power to change everything for you. Most importantly, it's going to change you. You become an author in your mind. You become a writer in your mind. You become an authority in your mind, and nobody can take that from you. Once you write your book, you're always an author. Once you put your story down, it's your story. And the other thing that's really important about it is there are a lot of podcasts and a lot of things that they only take people who are authors, or if you have something, it creates a sense of leverage for you. Now, the one thing I'm going to caution you about is a lot of people have been selling writing programs like it's the magic bullet, like, oh, write your book and then your life will be amazing overnight. And while that might be true for some people, that's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying write your book and magical things are going to instantaneously happen. What I'm telling you is, as somebody who works with energy, as somebody who knows how the law and manifestation works, the universe can bring to us only what we are, right? And so when you shift your identity from, well, I kind of know some things, to, oh, no, here is my collection of work, like my friend Emma. Here's my collection. Here's my body of work. Here's what I know about tech messaging and marketing. Here's what I know about simplifying what you're saying. She's got it right here. She's now embodying that even more. And you can do that too, whether it's your story, your fiction story, you can embody that energy. And there's so many ways now to get your story out there that you're not dependent on having to go out and doing, big things. I think of the story. Do you remember the movie Julie and Julia? You remember that movie? It came out 2009. I can't believe it's so long ago. But that woman, she started a blog, and she wasn't even writing her book. She was writing blog posts. And then she was doing them in such a way that her blog posts, she would do it every day. She would blog about her cooking process that she was going through. She started gathering readers together. And by the time she was done, she had done whatever it was, 500 recipes in 365 days. That was her story. And she got approached by all these companies that wanted to make her story a book and then eventually a movie, right? We don't know. So she wasn't writing it in any traditional way. She was like doing something that at the time in 2002 was brand new technology. She was blogging. So there's lots and lots and lots of ways to share your work with the world, but we have to get you writing, my friend. So I'm going to invite you to join me if you'd like to. francisfaden.com/write your book. This is the program that I have been wanting to teach and wanting to share with you for such a long time. And guess what? I'm going to be writing my book right along with you. I have so many book ideas, and I'm going to use these same principles for myself that will work for you to really get us out of our heads, into our hearts, opening up and listening, becoming a channel, and either putting a pen to paper or typing or whatever works for you. Or even if you wanted to speak your story and have it be transcribed, you can do that too. It's all in the telling. It's all in the telling of your story. And you will have all the company of these great beings standing behind you, the Louisa May Alcotts and the Bronte sisters and Emily Dickinson and all the amazing writers, even Louise Hay, all the amazing writers that have gone before us that have paved the way for women to have a voice and to share your story. Your story, it changes everything. All right, my friend, if you know someone who has a story and would really benefit from hearing this episode, please pass it on to them. I so appreciate when you pass on my episodes. It makes such a big difference for me, and it also makes you even more of an influencer in the world of sharing the light that works for you. Remember, my friend, the key to magnifying your miracles is knowing your miracle is already here. We'll see you next time, my friend, for part 3. Bye-bye. Hey, my miraculous friend, thank you so much for watching. If you want to be the first one to know when new videos are released, just click the subscribe button. And if you click the notify me button, you'll be the first one to know, especially if I go live. Thank you once again, and I'm sending you all my love and blessings.